this is why we call it airplane season. Trying to figure out if the side-by-side will fit in the trailer. I think it's plenty wide enough, but I'm not sure if it's tall enough. Got this piece of aluminum on the roof here to give me a good point to measure to. I think it's too tall. Darn it. Ah. It's like 2 inches too tall. So we're 2 inches too tall, but I've been thinking about this for a minute, and like when you're pulling the side-by-side into the trailer, when the tallest point back here crosses through that threshold, the rear wheel will still be on the ramp, which should, in theory, lower the entire machine a little bit, if that makes sense. So I think I will hook up the trailer and I will try to drive it in there. If it doesn't fit, I know I can just take the roof off and then it'll fit no problem, but I won't have a roof. But I think that's the easiest thing to do here. The other option would be to clean everything off of this trailer, but even though that does need to be done, I'm, kind of in a hurry, and I could take that roof off a lot faster than I can clean the trailer off. Today the plan is to take the side-by-side up to the heifer pasture and start fixing all of the sprinklers that the steers that were there broke over the winter. And I figure while we're up in that neck of the woods, we better go check on the new steer pasture as well. That's what's going on today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. But it fits. Well, that was a tight squeeze. When I unload it, I'll put a camera up there so you see how much clearance I actually have. I think it might have actually rubbed a little bit going in, but that's fine. It went in. I backed it out a little bit just to test it, and it came out as well. So we're good. I've wondered for a long time if that would fit in there. I knew it would be close. First stop this morning is going to be the new steer pasture. I still got a few more minutes before I get there, but for you, it'll be right now. Well, we just arrived here at the new steer pasture. Let's see if we can find these guys, how they're doing, and also I'm very curious if I can notice any reduction in the grass out here. Well, you can certainly tell that they've been out here. There's trails going through all this grass. You find manure pats here and there, but there is still an abundance of feed out here, as I'm sure there will be throughout the summer. So I guess it's all good news. Well, here's everybody up here hanging out in the shade. You can see they've mellowed out quite a bit since dropping them off here, which I figured they would. It takes some time to get comfortable in a new setting. Hey, boys. And you'll no doubt notice these two, I think these are shorthorns or some variation of that, laying in the background. These belong to the landowner. When we first dropped everybody off, the steers and the cows didn't really hang out much together, but it looks like they are now. So everybody's looking good over here. I guess we can head on to the next stop. Just pulled in here to the heifer pasture, and I actually have not seen the heifers, so I think the first thing we'll do after we unload the side-by-side is go find them, see how they're doing, and then we'll start chipping away at these sprinklers. Well, see if I can find a couple good ones in here. Got 3 new heads here, which I will take with me, and if I need more, I've got more. I certainly hope that I don't need more than that. That's a bad sign. That means we've got a lot of problems. I've got sprinkler parts, pipe. I think that's everything I'm gonna need. Oh, I forgot a shovel. Oh, I can't believe I forgot a shovel. So I'm gonna see if the landowner has one I can borrow, because I'm almost certainly gonna need it. We got a shovel, so that should be everything that we need. Let's run down and see if we can find the heifers and get after it. Oh, I already see a broken one right here up front. Yeah. There they are. One, two, three, four, five. Everybody's down here under the same tree. I guess we'll probably be here all day, so maybe we'll see them come out a little bit later. But they're all here and accounted for. That's the main thing. Well, the first one I pulled up to is broken. That kind of tells me this might be a long day. That's a pretty easy fix, I think. Doesn't everybody just love sprinkler fixing videos? I mean, what could be more exciting, really? Well, I didn't make it very far. I got another one. Yeah, and this is always very puzzling to me when it happens, but the sprinkler is broke off clean, but I am looking around and I don't see it anywhere. And this is not the first time that this has happened. In fact, this happens quite often, and I've developed a series of theories over the years to kind of explain what happens to these sprinkler heads. I don't know if the cows, out of curiosity, like pick them up to chew on them and end up dropping them somewhere where you wouldn't think to look. And I know this sounds kind of crazy, but it's not uncommon for cattle to, like, you know, for you to see them chewing on hay twine or something that they find out in the field, or they're just buried in the dirt here in what would have been mud when this broke, and you know, because of that, we just can't find them. But at any rate, I've decided that it's a better use of time to look, you know, for like 20-30 seconds. If you don't find it, then just build a new one and keep on moving. And it looks like that's what we're gonna do, because I do not see it anywhere. Well, jump ahead an hour or two. I don't know, I've lost track of time. This is the last sprinkler in this pasture. Yeah, it's been brutal. It's like every third sprinkler, every second sprinkler. I think I had a stretch of like 4 in a row that were broken, and it's good to be here at the end. Now, in years past, and there's no guarantee it's going to be this way this year, the first pasture here where the cattle are right now is always the worst, because that's where the hay feeder is. So through the winter, the steers spend a lot more time out here, and this is the result of that. And I assume that that will be true again this year. That's kind of why I started in this pasture, because, you know, it's always, I think, better to do the worst first, and then everything else seems so easy after that. So we'll get this one fixed and then move on, and hopefully it's what I'm expecting. We'll see. Callie and I are in the second pasture now, and things are going better. I think the last row there was only one broken sprinkler in the entire row, which is pretty much unheard of to this point. But I did just pull up on a broken sprinkler and something that is kind of weird. I'm not sure what happened here or how this happened, but somebody's been collecting broken sprinklers and just putting them right here for some reason. I don't think the cows did that. I guess I'll take these with me. For all the soil health nerds out there, which I'm starting to become one myself, look at all the earthworms right here in this little spot that I dug up to fix the sprinkler.
Another. And of course, soil health nerd is a term of endearment. That's the last one. All right, well, that job is done. I gotta tell you, this is one that I just really don't look forward to doing every year. Fixing sprinklers is not fun. It takes forever, and it's, you know, usually it's hot. Today actually wasn't that bad. But anyway, to give you sort of some context here as to how much worse this first pasture was, it took me about 2.5 hours to finish the first one, and then to do the next two only took me a little bit under an hour. And I'll admit, when I first got out here, I was having a bad attitude about it, just kind of thinking about how much I didn't want to do this job, and then it kind of dawned on me, something that my wife and I tell our kids a lot is the attitude that you have going into something is going to have a big influence on the day that you have. So I thought I will try to think of this differently, and instead of thinking about how much I don't like fixing sprinklers, I should be thinking about how grateful I am that I have a summer pasture that's irrigated so that I have this problem in the first place. A lot of people, myself included a couple years ago, would have done just about anything to get a lease like this. So I just try to keep that in mind. And then what do you know, the job goes a lot faster.
Down.
Well, I guess I better get these cows moved, and you can see this last rotation here in the back field. They're gonna have plenty of feed. Fact is, I probably let this get a little bit too mature. I'm not sure how much they're actually gonna like this, but we shall see.
Forget to turn that off.
It's kind of interesting to see when the cows are presented with all these choices out here of what they choose to go for. And a little handful of them here are eating where I bale grazed last fall, and you can see we basically got like a little hay crop coming up here. You can see right here we got some oats, some beardless wheat, hardly any barley coming up. There's a little piece right here, but I don't know, for whatever reason it didn't do as well. Man, we've even got some triticale here. That's pretty surprising to see, because I was under the impression that triticale would not reseed itself like that, but I mean, that's what's growing, and I didn't plant it. Just looking around at all the grass species that are growing out here, I'm seeing a lot of ryegrass. There's clover down closer to ground level, and then everywhere that I bale graze, there's oats, wheat, and barley growing. It's just making me think, man, if I had my own swather, I might have just cut this and baled it instead of giving it to the cows. I mean, that's kind of a cool concept when you think about it. You take a bale of hay, roll it out on the ground to feed the cows, let that hay reseed itself, come back, cut it and bale it again that spring, and just kind of do it all over again. Maybe one day.
Hey girl, you missed the move. Time to wake up.
Tell you what, I do worry about this calf. This is number 12. This is the one we brought back from the winter pasture. Had to help it nurse. It was blind, had all kinds of problems. But at this point, it is obviously out here in the pasture with its mother. But it's like every time I find the calf, it's laying down kind of off by itself. But on the other hand, it is still alive, and it looks like it's growing and getting bigger. So you know that it's nursing, but just I would like to see it act a little bit more normal. My plan is to leave the cows in this paddock for about 2 to 3 days, I would say. 3 days is probably fine for as much feed as there is out here. And then after those 3 days are up, normally the cattle would come into the pasture that I'm standing in right now. And this pasture actually does look really good, but I had this idea while I've still got cattle over at the winter pasture, I should take advantage of this time and try to give this pasture even more chance to recover. My plan to do this is to put the cattle in this little 2-acre pasture, and this will just kind of be like a sacrificial pasture. While they're in here, I'll keep the hay feeders full of hay, and my plan is to keep them in here for like 2 weeks or until the cattle come home from the winter pasture. During that time, I'll be able to irrigate these 2 pastures again, and then when I do start rotating the cattle again in a week or 2, I'll start them here in the backfield where they are now and move them through, and then that will give these 2 front pastures all that much more time to recover. It's important to do this because I've learned that it actually does make a huge difference if you allow a pasture to get really well established before you start intensively rotationally grazing it. If you start with a pasture that's in good shape, it recovers faster and it holds more tonnage throughout the entire summer, which will eventually translate into being able to rotationally graze longer and wait longer before I have to start feeding hay. So I guess what I'm really trying to say here is that I think a little bit of extra management now should pay me dividends in the future. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.